Victor Wembanyama was cleared to play, so that's really exciting for him. And is Victor Oladipo making a return to the NBA? So that's what we're going to talk about in this live stream. So first, let's talk about Victor Wembanyama. It is amazing news that he is cleared to play, because if you don't know or you don't remember, he unfortunately had a blood clot that happened back in February. It was literally right after the All-Star break, actually. Like, I'm pretty positive I remember him playing in the All-Star game, and then the next day, or the next couple of days or whatever, he ended up being ruled out, and it was due to a blood clot issue. So that was obviously very scary, not only for himself, of course, because it's scary to have a blood clot even if you're not an athlete, but obviously for the Spurs, and then obviously fans as well, because he's so young, and just, in a way, it just felt like it kind of came out of nowhere. So we're very happy that he's, now healthy, and he's cleared to play basketball. So this obviously makes the Spurs, I mean, a lot of people thought he was going to end up playing next season anyway, but this obviously makes the Spurs next season very interesting. And that is because Victor Wembanyama looked like he might have and was going to win Defensive Player of the Year in his second year in the NBA. So you can only imagine, with another year of experience and playing in the NBA, and now he has another super talented guard in Dylan Harper. Now that just depends, how many minutes he gets with De'Aaron Fox. That is something I will talk about a little bit in this live stream. But the fact of the matter is the Spurs have a ton of young talent, and Victor Wembanyama being, the centerpiece of it all. If his growth is as great as we all think it's going to be year to year, I said last year I thought the Spurs were the wild card team to get the 8th seed or something like that. I said it was between them and the Rockets, and I ended up just, betting on Victor Wembanyama, and that's why I went with the Spurs. And then the Rockets obviously were the ones who made it and proved me wrong, and, my pick. But now, obviously, another year of experience, healthy, and now you have another year where Stephon Castle, he just won Rookie of the Year, so he should be more experienced. De'Aaron Fox has another year of chemistry with Victor Wembanyama, when they play in training camp and stuff like that. And now you just got Dylan Harper, the number 2 pick in the draft. And that's not to even count all the other talented players on the roster, like Devin Vassell, who, if you watch this page, I'm a fan of Devin Vassell. They still have Jeremy Sohan. Their roster up and down, I know they're young, but plenty of talent there. I wouldn't be surprised if during the season, especially if they start, winning a lot of games, that they make some kind of move at the deadline just to put them in a more win-now position. I guess, again, depending on how much they're winning and what Victor Wembanyama looks like, because you don't want to, put all your chips on the table at this moment for Victor Wembanyama, even though you kind of want to do that. You don't want to... I hate to use the Clippers as an example because I'm not trying to shade the Clippers, but when they got Kawhi, and obviously the stipulation was Kawhi was going only if Paul George went with him. That was the stipulation. And so by Paul George, having to be traded from OKC, the Clippers had to give up a lot to get him. And it was win now, we have to do it, right? Whereas with Victor Wembanyama, you want to win now, but you also don't want to do too much because he does have a ton of time. Unlike Kawhi and Paul George, who were in their prime of primes. There was a bit of a timeline, of course, a few years, and obviously it didn't end up working out because a few years has passed and Paul George is no longer on the team, and Kawhi is still there and they haven't won a ring. But the timeline was win right now. They thought they can contend for a championship the season they got Kawhi and Paul George. Whereas with Victor Wembanyama, I think they have a chance to contend with him, of course, but they also know that if he stays healthy, he should have at least 15 years ahead of him, and he hasn't hit his prime yet. So there's a level of which you go all in and you try to win with Victor Wembanyama, but also at the same time you don't just trade all your picks, because what if someone becomes available next year when Victor Wembanyama is even closer to his prime, which again, he still wouldn't even be in his prime because he'd still only be 23, which is crazy. So I do think this season is a bit more of a valuation for the Spurs, but I think it's going to be very interesting to see what they end up doing. And I think Victor Wembanyama, again, if he stays healthy, he's going to have a really good year. The combination of De'Aaron Fox and Dylan Harper is going to be an interesting one because obviously they traded for De'Aaron Fox to be a duo with Victor Wembanyama, like point guard center duo, right? They didn't know that they were going to get the second overall pick and get Dylan Harper. That's kind of the thing. And of course, De'Aaron Fox is the more seasoned veteran. He's been in the league for a while. And so he's still, in my opinion, going to have the starting job to start the season, even if Dylan Harper has a really, really good, training camp, just because Dylan Harper is still a rookie and he didn't play any NBA games yet. So I would expect De'Aaron Fox to still start and, Dylan Harper to get minutes, at some point, but I don't know if he's going to get like super significant minutes. Again, it just depends on how the games are going and, how much they're winning. Because if they're winning a lot, like I said, and De'Aaron Fox is starting for them and putting up good numbers and his chemistry with Victor Wembanyama is really good, then you're going to want to keep him starting, even though you do want to develop Dylan Harper too, but you have time. So they are in a pretty good position, just like how a lot of people say OKC's in a good position. But they are definitely in a good position right now based on the team and the talent they have. So I'm just very happy that Victor Wembanyama was cleared to play and he's going to be healthy. Somebody said, so glad you're still making content. Just came back up in my algorithm. Just came back up in my algorithm. Oh, that's great. I've been here. I've been making content, all the time. I'm always making content. So I'm so happy that I came back up on your algorithm and I hope you enjoyed the content. So besides that, Victor Oladipo. So if you don't know or you don't remember, Victor Oladipo unfortunately has been out of the NBA for I think 2 years now. And it's just because unfortunately he just keeps getting injured. And it's really sad because they're pretty serious injuries that he keeps having. And so he looked really good when he came back this last time too. The thing about Victor Oladipo is every time he comes back, he still looks good. He still looks, bouncy, NBA ready, all that kind of stuff. Now, is he going to have the athleticism that he had when he came into the league? Obviously not. But he's still every time he has come back, unless you're seeing him dunk, besides that, he's still fast, he still has the lateral quickness, all these things. So it's really impressive how well he looks when he comes back. So last time he was playing in the NBA, I remember this moment and it was so, so sad. The Miami Heat, he was on the Miami Heat. I don't remember if this was the play-in tournament or the playoffs, but I just remember the moment was just so sad. I forgot exactly what he did. I don't remember if he drove to the basket or something, but he goes down, he grabs his knee immediately, and we all knew, he knew immediately, but we all knew immediately it was something really serious. And of course it ended up being, the injury that has kept him out of the NBA for the last 2 years. So that was a super sad moment because he works so hard each time he gets injured to get back to, the NBA level. So a report came out that he actually had, I believe it was a private workout that was obviously open to I guess NBA scouts and coaches, and I think there were European coaches there too. So Victor Oladipo did a workout in Las Vegas, apparently, and I think it said that the coaches and the people who were watching were impressed. So we could see Victor Oladipo back in the NBA again, which would be very exciting, and I hope he does come back in the NBA because I don't know how you guys feel about Victor Oladipo, but I loved watching Victor Oladipo play. Again, I feel like he was always fun to watch. I feel again, even though he kept getting injured, every time he came back, he looked pretty good, each time he came back. And I just feel he is someone that can contribute to winning. Again, at this point with all these injuries, is he going to be a, 30 point per game scorer playing 35 plus minutes? Probably not. And it's not even because of his skill. It's just because when you've had that many injuries, they're going to want to manage your minutes. But you can kind of think of it as there are so many examples of this in NBA history. We can think recently, kind of. I wouldn't say it would be to this extent necessarily, but we know Porzingis has had a lot of injuries in his career, and when he went to the Celtics, he still played a really, really major role. And I feel like his role, Victor Oladipo's role, wouldn't be as many minutes as maybe Porzingis, because I feel like even though Porzingis has had a bunch of injuries, he's still, talked about as a bit more healthier and stuff like that. So that may not be the best example, but the fact is he was like the fourth option or whatever, and although he still played a bunch of minutes, he obviously was on a bit more of a reserved role as compared to the days when he was on the Knicks. Another person you could think of was when Otto Porter Jr. went to the Warriors in 2022 when they won the championship. I feel like that may be more of a role that Victor Oladipo has, because Otto Porter Jr., if I remember correctly, he was like the second overall pick, right, in the draft when he was drafted. And then, of course, he had his injuries and stuff like that. And so he only played I think 15, I'm saying only, as if that's not a big deal. Like, of course, playing 15 minutes a game and being impactful is important. But what I'm saying is, I think he only played 15 minutes a game, as opposed to when he was on the Wizards, he must have been playing at least 30 plus minutes a game. But of course, with the injuries and stuff like that, I don't want to say it wasn't possible, but they wanted to make sure that he was healthy throughout the season. So Victor Oladipo can have that kind of role where, yes, unfortunately, you're probably not going to play 30 minutes a game just because, they want to make sure that you're healthy throughout the whole season. But if he could play 15, 20 minutes a game, maybe be the sixth man for some teams or, depending on the team, and just be a spark off the bench, he could still be a scorer and do his thing and maybe give a team, depending on, what level he's at, 10 to 15 a night. Victor Oladipo can definitely be an impact player. And the way that people talk about him, I think he's going to be, or I think he is, a good person in the locker room to have. He just seems like, the way that everybody speaks about him, everyone speaks so highly about him. So I feel like adding Victor Oladipo to the roster, of course, as long as he is, healthy, and he seems to be healthy now, which again, we're so happy for him for, I don't see why a lot of teams wouldn't want Victor Oladipo on their team. The same way, and I guess maybe, again, this is not exactly the same, but the same way that Damian Lillard, tore his Achilles, unfortunately, he's going to sign to another NBA team, even though he's coming off a major, major injury. But teams are still going to want Damian Lillard, right? So again, it's not exactly the same because Victor Oladipo has had more and more serious injuries than Damian Lillard. But if Victor Oladipo is healthy, he can definitely help an NBA team. He is that talented, even after the injuries. So I could see a bunch of NBA teams signing him. And, he's probably going to get, I guess, a veteran minimum, if he does get signed to an NBA team, just because he's been out of the league a while and it's, teams, I guess, in a way, kind of taking a chance just because we haven't seen him in a while. But Victor Oladipo on a veteran minimum is well worth the chance, right? Low risk potential, really high reward. Because, again, injuries aside, Victor Oladipo can play basketball. Somebody said the Lakers need him. I mean, he could be a good fit on pretty much any team. If he went to the Lakers, they definitely would be happy to have him. I think the Lakers need another wing player, in my opinion. Not necessarily a guard. But, again, Victor Oladipo on a veteran minimum is well worth it for any team. So I'm not saying if he wants to go to the Lakers and the Lakers want him that that shouldn't happen, because he definitely will add value to the team. I just think if I was the Lakers, I would be looking for more of a forward, especially because Dorian Finney-Smith left. So I think the Lakers should be looking, to add some kind of forward to the roster, especially because your starting forward is LeBron James, who is 40 years old. And as great as LeBron is at 40, which is really incredible how great he still is at 40, he is 40. And you don't want to, overplay him. I know they have Rui Hachimura and they have other forwards on the team, but I feel like your guard, your backcourt is definitely set with Luka and Austin Reeves. Like, you know what they're going to do. You know they're going to be there. And they're pretty much set over there. So again, I'm not saying don't add Victor Oladipo. I definitely agree that he would be a great addition to that team or any team. But if I'm the Lakers, the first person or the first kind of player I'm looking for is another versatile forward, you know, preferably a 3-and-D guy. Like, preferably someone like Dorian Finney-Smith, honestly. Like a 3-and-D guy who could do a little bit of everything. Somebody said... hit the like button, guys. Oh, yeah. Hit the like button. Yes, hit the like button. So that is what I think about, you know, Victor Oladipo going to the Lakers. But I think Victor Oladipo can help pretty much any team. Like, again, Victor Oladipo on a veteran minimum, take that any day of the week. So thank you guys so much for watching this live stream. Somebody said, thoughts on KD in Houston. You caught me right before I was about to get off. I actually talked about this on another live stream. I think KD is exactly the type of player that they wanted and they needed. Because, like, if you've been on these live streams, I've said it 100 times. I was not buying Giannis to the Rockets. I didn't buy it because I felt like they already have so many athletic forwards. I'm like, it doesn't really make sense. Like, yes, Giannis is better than, you know, those forwards, but, like, it didn't solve their issues of needing, like, shooting and scoring. Obviously, Giannis scores, but, like, shooting, like, three-pointers, that kind of stuff, you know. So I felt like Giannis, I wasn't buying that. It didn't make sense to me. But I like KD to Houston. I feel like he's a good fit there. I like the additions of Dorian Finney-Smith. Unfortunately, the Lakers lost him. Since we're talking about the Lakers before. Like I said, a 3-and-D guy, a good veteran to add to your team. I like the pickup of Clint Capella. So I like what they're doing over there in Houston, and I think KD is a good fit. Are they going to win the championship? I don't know yet. Like, it remains to be seen. The West is loaded. It's been loaded, so I don't know, but they definitely got better. So thank you guys so much for watching this live stream.